Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello from my heart to yours.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live almost every Tuesday, except when we don't, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Support this project at echoplexmedia.com. Just click that support link at the top of the page and find your favorite way. I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
Greetings, producer Dave. This is the Councilman, and you can find me by hitting Control F and typing in your mom's boyfriend. Or on Twitter.
Kind of a down-ballot-y announcement this week. We have a new project that I'm not actually a part of, but it's on terrestrial radio in Shasta County, KNCR. The Media Wench and a couple gals from up in Shasta County are doing something called Shasta Unmasked. It just finished, actually. It airs from 6 to 7 p.m. on KNCR up in Shasta County. And It is also available as a podcast. We just put the podcast feeds up. It should be up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts by the time this goes out to the podcast feed for this. And you may actually be hearing this after we put an episode of that up on this feed to kind of promote it to our down ballot listeners. You might want to check it out.
Or listener.
That's pretty cool, huh?
That's very cool. And congratulations to the Media Wench. Little golf clap for Media Wench on the new endeavor. That's fantastic. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah. Again, that's called Shasta Unmasked, and you'll be able to find it on all the podcatchers as soon as you're able to find it on all the podcatchers. These things take a little while to propagate through the series of tubes that we call the internet.
All right. So if you get through down ballot and you haven't had enough of local derp of sort of the more normal, average variety, you can cruise on up to Shasta and get the real derp on a local level.
And
or maybe I guess it's before us, so that you can lead into us with that. So maybe we'll be tame by comparison. Who knows?
Yeah, and actually next week, the Shasta County Board of Supervisors meeting is a night meeting. So this channel will be going live at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. It will overlap with their terrestrial radio show. So the Media Wench will be able to, as she closes out that show, be able to send people over here so they can check out the Shasta Board of Supervisors meeting. And then she'll be jumping straight from that over here to that. So there won't be a down ballot podcast next week. I don't know, the councilman, you might could pop in. I could pop in. I could pop in. I could pop in on one of the other wonderful shows in this network, like we've talked about before. So I just need to set that up in advance and be ready to rock. But yeah, I'm down. I'm totally down to pop in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just give me a hamburger. I'm ready. Just give me a hamburger. Send the councilman a hamburger, and he'll come on Cults and Satanic Panic. I'll gladly join you any day for a hamburger today. So, what do we have for leading off on this down ballot-y week here? Well, to be honest with you, I at least on down ballot try to avoid like the presidential race because it's not really down ballot, right? It's top of the ballot. Also the greater unrest, around Palestine, Israel, Hamas, Judaism, the whole thing. But this seemed particularly down ballot worthy since it's local, and it's just exemplifying how we are treated here in California, and how we have to how we observe the presidential election here in California, particularly in the Bay Area, where it is very much a liberal enclave, whatever side you're on in the current issue in Israel, in Gaza. We're mostly progressives here. So we tend to live in a bit of a bubble, and we also get treated like a bit of a bubble by presidential campaigns and national campaigns because we don't necessarily matter, right? Like California usually is going to go blue no matter what. We help with the popular vote. We don't necessarily help with, what really counts, the Electoral College. So, but we do have money, right? What do we have? We have money. Silicon Valley has money. We have VCs and all these lovely people who are ostensibly Democrats, but also probably envision themselves running for Congress one day. Anyway, they give voraciously to candidates, and people like President Biden and President Obama and others in the Democratic Party certainly use California like their own little piggy bank. So that's what happened recently. You probably saw it in the news. President Biden was here, but he was met by, again, protesters, supporters on both sides of the Gaza issue. So we're going to hear more about it from ABC News.
A whirlwind trip to the Bay Area for President Joe Biden, the fifth just in the last year. The president's motorcade made its way to two campaign receptions in the South Bay on Friday. The first in Portola Valley at a fundraiser hosted by billionaire venture capitalist Vinod Khosla. The second fundraiser hosted by former Yahoo and Google executive Marissa Mayer.
We need actions from Biden, which he could easily take. He could pick up the phone and things could change in a heartbeat.
Pro-Palestinian demonstrators rallied outside both events and at one point blocked part of the motorcade. They're calling on Biden to stop sending military aid to Israel. They told us they're also working to reach his donors.
There are an unprecedented amount of billionaires and millionaires, and a lot of money is going to the Democratic Party. We want these donors to understand that we care about what's happening in Palestine right now.
But they weren't the only demonstrators lining the streets. Some groups holding Israeli flags wanted to thank Biden for the work he's been doing.
I do not support the Israeli government's decisions. I support Israel's existence and Israel's right to defend itself. But I think that right now the goal should be returning the hostages, and it looks like the best way to do that is a hostage deal.
And you're happy with how the president has approached that?
I am.
Despite the protests, experts say the fundraiser will be critical to his campaign.
It's a cliche, but we are the nation's piggyback for these campaigns. There's a lot of people here with a lot of money and a lot of interest in who wins these elections.
And as you saw, you had protesters on both sides of the issue out here as it relates to Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. But you also had just simple onlookers, looky-loos out here with American flags waving, wanting to see the president's motorcade coming through. So a lot of different perspectives out here along the president's route here in the Bay Area. Right now in Palo Alto, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
Like that one lady, she's like, I don't really even like what they're doing, but I'm glad that we're supporting them. That was a weird fucking statement, wasn't it?
I just had this visual of President Biden, jumping on Marissa Mayer for a piggyback. That would have been a great image to to go home with from this. Yeah. So lovely to see that we're so beloved here in California that all we get is the president coming to meet with Vinod Khosla and the former Yahoo CEO. Vinod Khosla, by the way, who's also been a down ballot regular for his involvement in that private public beach debate. He's the VC that owns the beach that previously was semi-public and is now private, and he wants to keep it that way. So he's been on down ballot before in a different way, outside of hosting an event for.
Well, that's not a good look for Biden.
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's not, I don't know if this is all a good look anyway, but I think they know that it's already something that's, Republicans and the GOP and their machine, they make incessant, hay out of California, and we're consistently their punching bag. We're the, stoned liberal bastion of wokeness, right? So I guess they figured that there's really not much else they could do to worsen their look with people that could be impacted by a worsening of their look. I'm going to vote for Biden. I'm in that camp of, do I wish there was a better candidate? Sure. Am I going to vote for Biden? Absolutely. So, it is what it is, but good to see folks stepping up to try to, and it has had an impact. I think that this, this grassroots and the much larger scale organizing and student protests across the nation have obviously had an impact. There's been a shift in our nation's policy on this issue. For whatever better or worse, whatever you think about it, regardless, there has been an impact. And you can absolutely argue it may just be correlation, not causation, but it's happening. There's a shift, and all this protest is happening at the same time. So you do the math.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's I just, like I said, I figure there are a lot of people who could have thrown him a fundraiser. I don't know why you had to pick the beach asshole for that was just there are just so many other people that could have done a fundraiser.
There are plenty, and sometimes it just comes out to timing and who knows who, and just setting things up quickly. And he'll be back, like they just said. He's been here 5 times in the past past year, so he'll be back absolutely. And Dr. Joe will be back for sure. So this won't be the last time he makes the rounds here. It's just a question of lining things up, right? It's who you can line things up with really quickly within a day, so he can come in, and be in and out in less than 24 hours, right? And do 2 of these events and rake in hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That's the goal. And then he's off to either go back to presidenting, or he goes to somewhere else, and does the same exact thing the next day. And it can't be fun if you're 80 years old, pushing 82 or whatever he is. That cannot be fun. I can't imagine that being a load of laughs. So pretty exhausted.
Other countries,
he's gonna be dead tired.
Like in the UK, their presidential cycle or their cycle for their big elections, I think 6 weeks.
Done. Yeah, it's like, hey, we're gonna have an election, and they just say hey, it's not even on a schedule really. Like in some countries, like in Britain, I think it's something like Parliament has to call an election. Basically, they just say, hey, we're gonna have an election. Okay, fuck it, let's do it, right? And it's done, right? Yeah, you're right. In 6 weeks, even less. Some would argue that might make a little more sense and be a little more sensible, and also it just leaves more time for governing, right? We seem to spend so much time campaigning in this country and fundraising and doing all the things that are required to win campaigns, and very little time and less time gets spent, it seems like, on the actual work, of governing, and that absolutely will lead to poor policy and poor governance because you're just not giving it the attention it deserves. So yeah, who knows? Maybe we will see a revolution there in the near future. If anyone wants to start a revolution, that's where I would start. The Electoral College, tear that apart, tear apart the primary process, start over from scratch, condense everything. And it would help. I think it would help with voter engagement too. I think people would be able to see more immediate impacts. They would, they would be more engaged in the electoral process.
People just wouldn't be sick of the election by that. Like if it was just 6 weeks
Right.
or whatever, people would be like less sick of it by the time it arrives.
Right. We have we do have a bit of a concept. And I think if you live in or near this congressional district 16, we're going to get a really nice, juicy glimpse at this, although it's going to be Dem on Dem, so it's going to be kind of weird. But with Liccardo and Evan Lowe, you're going to see what it's like with the TV ads and the incessant social media ads. You're going to be bombarded all the way up until the election day, right? So you're going to see what it's like. The good wife and I have had the pleasure, distaste, fortune, misfortune, whatever you want to call it, of visiting several swing states in the midst of their election cycles. Arizona, most recently. We were in North Carolina one year during their election cycle. And it is a very different environment from California. We are tame. We are Melba toast by comparison, no matter how nasty the local campaigns have gotten. It is unbelievable. The wall-to-wall advertising, like turning on, we watch the news, but we also watch sports. We watch reality TV, and it's wall-to-wall. Every single ad. Forget the toilet paper ad, right, or the McDonald's ad, or it's just nothing but political ads is all bought out, right? So all you're hearing for months and months and months leading up to it is just one candidate bitching about the other one or talking trash about the other one or trying to talk about all the great things they've done. And you see the same thing over and over again. And you just, I could totally see your mind just getting numb to it and almost like, just get it over with, So that's where some of the apathy may come from. It's just, it's oversaturation almost.
Yeah, I agree. But that's that's a little far afield here. Let's move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners unless you happen to be rooting for somebody, and then they probably lose.
True. Well, I'm always rooting for BART riders at least. So this is something that could impact them. Apparently the tunnels are really dark. I've not really gotten out of a train on BART in a tunnel to know this. Thankfully, I haven't had an emergency like that. But if we do, apparently it's pretty dark down there. So they made an investment in some lights not too long ago. They haven't been installed, and we're going to learn more about why on NBC from their investigative unit.
It is billed as a dramatic improvement for safety for passengers and workers. BART promised to install brighter lights in the subway tunnel running under San Francisco.
But 6 years have passed, and those lights have yet to be installed, leaving critics wondering, how long does it take for BART to change a light bulb? Here's investigative reporter Jackson Vandermeer.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Very, very good.
This is BART subway tunnel under San Francisco.
And you got any more pixels?
It's quite a dark space. So dark that BART awarded
so dark that we could not get a sharp image
back in 2018 to make it much brighter.
So we are going up considerably on the lighting.
Then BART project manager Javed Khan pitched the plan to install more than 2,100 new lights, twice as many as BART had in the tunnel, saying it would bring 10 times more light into the subway and bring the lighting up to current code so train operators could see better and passengers could evacuate more quickly during an emergency.
For emergency egress, you want to be able to see the walkway and find the exit.
But today, 6 years later, BART has yet to install those lights. So what happened?
Correct.
BART Inspector General Claudette Beameret says the problem goes back to 2020, 2 years after the lighting contract was approved, when a whistleblower complained that BART was not getting its money's worth.
It didn't meet the standards, the specifications that they set out.
The Inspector General confirms the new lights were not as bright as BART wanted and wouldn't last as long as the contract specified. Still, BART liked them because they would be easy to install and lower projected maintenance costs. After the Inspector General's office got involved, BART fired the lighting contractor and settled with them for $2.4 million and vowed to install all 2,182 fixtures itself. This video we took in the subway shows that another 4 years later, those old dim fluorescent fixtures still line the tunnels. And those new lights BART promised to install, most are in storage, with time running out on their warranties.
That's wasteful. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting the best use out of your purchases.
BART board member Deborah Allen, a frequent critic of BART management, has another word for it.
Sometimes I do look at some of these things and say, gosh, that could be pretty absurd. I can see how the public would say that.
We reached out to BART. They wouldn't answer any specific questions about what's going on with the lighting, saying only that they're reviewing the Inspector General's findings, and the agency acknowledges the procurement process did not meet our high standards, and we will work to do better in the future. During a recent audit committee meeting, BART Deputy General Manager Michael Jones suggested the audit process itself is to blame for all the delays, but quickly added,
Great, audit the audit process.
Reasons why that project was not completed at that time and at this point in time.
Okay, well, I'd love to know all the other reasons.
BART officials now say they've installed roughly 30% of the lights they bought for San Francisco, mostly in the Berkeley Hills Tunnel.
Lack of time.
But when Allen asked whether any of the uninstalled lights are still under warranty...
Is it gone? I mean, we're past the warranty.
I really don't know.
It's not clear how long it will take for BART to finish installing the replacement lights in San Francisco.
Forever.
Back in 2018, BART predicted it would take a dedicated contractor 2 years because crews can only work during a 4-hour window while the system is down overnight. Jackson Vanderbecken, NBC, Bay Area News.
So, and somebody in the chat kind of asked a question related to this. If somebody said our lights do X, Y, and Z, and then upon inspection the lights don't do X, Y, and Z, then you fire them. You shouldn't also give them $2.4 million.
Yeah, I don't understand how that worked out. That's some sort of severance package, for not fulfilling the contract. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, there's all sorts of things that don't make a lot of sense here. They don't know if the lights are approaching their warranty or when the warranty expires, right? Staff doesn't. You've got the Inspector General saying this is wasteful. You've got a BART director saying this is, wasteful and the public, deserves to know. And you've got staff just issuing these just, completely stock responses, bureaucratic responses about we're striving for success and striving to, spend taxpayer dollars wisely and all that bullshit, right? And it's obvious that, someone fucked up or someone continues to fuck up and people are continuing to fuck up. And they're, at the end of the day, they're wasting money. They're wasting our money and they're wasting money that could be used to improve the system for riders. And it's not, right? These lights are just sitting on a goddamn shelf and you and I could probably be faster at installing them. I will say this, maybe if they pay hazard pay, they could do it during, normal operating hours. They just have to, get in there for 10 minutes and then jump out of the way every time a train comes by, right? It'd be exciting. It'd certainly be, they'd probably want to pay overtime for that. But anyway, it's good work if you can get it, to be honest with you, installing those lights. So
I just wonder why they're not throwing the contractor under the bus. I mean, I know BART doesn't operate buses, but you'd think that somebody would have the good sense to be like, well, this contractor promised us these things and didn't give them to us, and that's why this project is going this way. The name of the contractor, by the way, is
yeah, right, yeah. These are it doesn't ring true, right? It just stinks of we fucked up, right? And we're just not wanting to let you know so we don't get held accountable. You're right. That's the biggest red flag ever. Is okay. They didn't deliver on what they promised, and the product doesn't live up to the specs that you bought it for. But we're buying them out. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? We should be getting our money back, right? And buying other products. So it could be that they missed a window of opportunity or a statute of limitations, or somebody was just lying, right? And either way, it all smacks of mismanagement and fiscal mismanagement. And lo and behold, in the next story, we're going to find out, they're in dire need of money, apparently, and about to go bankrupt. And it's like, you wonder why, right? Anyway, we'll find out more.
If this loads, this is,
or we won't.
This is in fact a live show, everyone. We'll see what happens here.
Do 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 do.
Dire money problem for BART. According to the latest budget projections, the transit agency
look at that hair
will run out of nearly $2 billion in state and federal funding in 2 years. So now the board of directors wants taxpayers to help cover the shortfall. ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fong has details.
A lot of people count on BART to get around the Bay Area.
I can't reach my destinations within time if it's not there.
Ridership data shows more than 160,000 people use BART daily, but that's about 40% of what it was pre-pandemic. People are using it less because they don't go into the office every day.
Because I'm 100% remote work.
BART says lower ridership, increasing labor costs, and declining sales tax revenues are straining BART finances. The transit agency also expects to run out of $1.9 billion in federal and state assistance by April 2026. BART directors reviewed budget projections Thursday and say they're concerned for the future.
You know, I don't mean to be glib here, right? Like the big, very existential issue is that we are relying on $870,000 a day in emergency assistance, and you know, we know that's not a sustainable business plan.
BART says it'll be fine for the next 2 years because of pandemic relief money, but starting in 2027, they face a major annual deficit.
Basically about $300 to $400 million operating deficit each year.
There is a ballot measure set for 2026 that could raise $1.5 billion a year with a number of new taxes and a vehicle registration surcharge.
That ballot measure will be very important for funding not just BART, but all transit in the Bay Area.
Senator Aisha Wahab and Senator Scott Wiener are behind the legislation. Wahab issued a statement saying today, quote, "Multiple agencies across the region are facing financial cliffs, and we're creating a sustainable funding source for public transit agencies to maintain existing services and increase the quality, safety, and efficiency of those services. This bill is crucial to keeping public transit available in the Bay Area." Even if voters approve the tax measure, the funding won't come until 2028. In San Francisco, Suzanne Fong, ABC 7 News.
Yeah, this is not great because what ends up happening, right? There's not enough money, so they cut service, and then people's like, we're like, well, transit sucks. I'm not going to use transit, and then they have even less money, and then they got to cut service, and then more people are like, well, transit sucks. I'm not going to use transit, and then it's
a death spiral.
Yeah, you end up there. The other thing is like when I lived in Campbell, I'd often get on light rail, right? And there'd be people from Los Gatos that would get on the train and be talking about the light rail as if it was some kind of like novelty, right? Like it was quaint.
Oh, look at that. Look at that little train over there. How nice.
I remember these two ladies got on one time. They're like, it's so clean. And
there's no poop.
They were like, this is such a great way to get around. And I was like, yeah, you should use this more. They were like, what? I was like, I use this to get to work and everywhere actually in the South Bay. And they like looked at me like I was telling them that I was traveling to Mars or some other such thing, right?
Right. Oh, it's quite lovely here. Oh, there's no poo. Darling, charming. Oh, and this charming producer Dave that we have to chat with.
Right, and I think it's in the East Coast, especially in the Northeast, people don't really see transit that way. Like people like especially like in New York City, but even just getting around the Northeast, everybody takes Amtrak all around the North, like the New England area, and people just use it to get places. And here it's California's just got this car culture.
Yeah, because the real estate was here for so long, right? And we've been so much about sprawl and being spread out, and there's plenty of room to park your car, right? And now more and more we're finding out that the rest of the world is becoming like eastern cities and more established cities, and San Francisco to some extent, right? That were not necessarily built around the car; they were built for us to get around in a more condensed way, right? So, and then you're right, like people treat public transit like natural order of existence. If you're in New York, like I don't know why you would have a car living in New York. The subway literally goes everywhere and takes you anywhere you need to go in a pretty expedient fashion. And there's really no place to park anyway, right? So you're paying like an insane premium to have a car in the first place. So why even bother, right? So that's the pain that others are feeling, and we're feeling here when we're trying to graft a public transit system that people aren't bought into in that kind of deep fundamental way, right? It's just so societal way. We're trying to graft that onto what we already have, this car culture that you referenced. And it's not a surprise it's not working. It's frustrating. It should not be so, but it is. And it's not like this is not like the local, taqueria that you can say like, hey, everyone in the neighborhood, go have place is great. You go on Yelp, this place is great. You need to go here so they'll stay open, right? And people can start going and eating their tacos and keep the place open. BART, and these kind of major agencies are not the same, right? Like there's no real grassroots way to increase ridership. It really is systemic, right? And it could be in a death spiral, and that's unfortunate, especially because we've been promised so much about finally getting it, connecting the entire bay with Caltrain, right? By coming to San Jose and downtown San Jose, and at this point it may just not happen because they just may go bankrupt before we can even pay. Like we're footing the bill to build it, but the system may go bankrupt before they have an opportunity to run any trains down the system that we're building.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think there was a big mistake made at the beginning, and it was mostly like people in the South Bay just didn't want the train, and I just feel like maybe there would have been a shift in the culture had the train been like the original plan was for it to loop the bay.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So San Mateo County and Santa Clara County both voted down ballot measures that would have allowed for BART to come through. It was, I guess we can be thankful it wasn't one of these 9 county initiatives that we're looking at now around like housing and other issues where it requires like the full 9 county region to vote yes or no. So there were counties, obviously San Mateo or San Francisco, Alameda County, Contra Costa County said yes. So they got BART and we did not, right? So I guess it could have been worse. But yeah, it would have been much more ideal if the racist white fucks in San Jose and San Mateo County hadn't been so opposed to a train system that connected them with Oakland.
Right, that was the main thing. People that called it Mobile Oakland.
Yeah, let's just cut right to the chase, right? That's exactly what happened. I wasn't even alive at the time, but I can tell you that's what happened because I live around folks and live in the neighborhood with the folks who absolutely voted against it, and probably would be proud to say that they did, even if you ask them today. But they mostly keep to themselves.
All right, up next, Oakland has a new police chief, and he is officially on the job. Let's see what he has to say here. It looks like he made some statement of some sort to the public. This is from Fox 2, which is good because the last clip we played from NBC Bay Area, it sounded like the whole newscast was done over a Zoom call. So hopefully Fox 2 is not doing their whole newscast over a Zoom call.
You get what you pay for.
Chief is officially on the job. That's after the city went more than a year without a permanent police chief. As KTV's James Torres reports, the chief's focus will be to immediately reduce crime.
The new police chief, Floyd Mitchell, is coming to Oakland after serving as chief of police in Lubbock, Texas. He brings with him more than 30 years of law enforcement experience.
I just wanted to take a moment to say welcome to my first day as an...
Wait, you were welcoming yourself to your first day on the job? All right,
nice
whatever.
Freeze frame, producer Dave. That's perfect. Look at that. What a great screenshot.
Monday is the first look at Floyd Mitchell as Oakland's police chief. For weeks, he's been meeting with OPD leaders to learn about the department and its programs. He spoke to the next class of police recruits waiting for their day in academy.
I've been in this profession probably longer than most of you have been alive.
Chief Mitchell replaces former Chief LaRon Armstrong, fired last year after the mayor's office flagged issues of handling cases of misconduct. An independent investigation cleared Armstrong of any wrongdoing, but Mayor Tao said his attitude during the investigation made her less confident he could handle the job. Chief Mitchell takes over the agency at a time where public safety is Oakland's #1 priority.
I've spent the last few days attending some lineups to meet my officers. I'm going to spend the rest of this week attending different meetings to get brought up to speed on several different things going on within the Oakland Police Department and within this community.
Robberies continue to be on the rise.
My boyfriend's car just got broken into last week.
However, this could be a turning point for the city.
She was laughing about it.
Homicides, assaults, and burglaries are down in Oakland. And over the weekend, 12 new police officers were welcomed into the department after graduating from the academy. A total now of 716 officers, more than 70 on medical leave. The department is now considered fully staffed. One man says hiring a chief out of town might be a challenge.
You're going on paperwork. You're going on what somebody then told you or passing on to you. But if you were down here in the roots with the people, you would know the peoples. And so you know how everybody responds.
The police department is still working on finalizing a date for the chief's public swearing in.
Thank you for having me as your police chief, and I look forward to seeing you in person.
Reporting in Oakland, I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Man, I sure felt welcome to his first day.
Yeah, thank you. I felt right at home. I was walking right alongside him. It was fantastic. Encapsulating that story, assaults and burglaries are down. Public safety is still the number one issue, but assaults and burglaries are down, and yet that one lady's boyfriend's car got broken into, so we should all be very afraid.
But she wasn't afraid. She was laughing about it.
That's right. That's also true.
She might have just been nervous to be on TV or whatever, though.
Yeah. But I mean, regardless, it's sort of like stats versus anecdotal evidence from passersby at Lake Merritt, right? I do agree with the one passersby that they had, Mr. Page, or was it Page, who said, it's one thing to have the resume and the documents, right? But it's another, and the paperwork, I think he said, and it's another thing to actually have the roots and know the roots. So we'll see if Chief Mitchell, will give him the benefit of the doubt. It is his first day, after all. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll see what happens. But it's a big road. It's a long road. It's a tall road. It's a tall mountain to climb. There you go. That's the analogy I'll go with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's probably a tough job, but I don't know. Just welcoming everyone else to your first day is I'm just sorry. That's just sticking in my mind. I know that's not that important, but my God.
Welcome everyone to the new era. I thought he was going to say, like the new OPD. Welcome to the new OPD. I am Chief Mitchell. You will obey my authority.
So speaking of Oakland and new, apparently they did approve the new name for the Oakland airport. Calling it the Oakland. I forget what they fucking called it now.
It's like the Oakland, San Francisco Bay, west of Lake Tahoe, north of Merced, and underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and around the corner airport.
Well, apparently San Francisco is going to continue to sue them, which is stupid.
Fuck yeah.
And let's see how ABC News covers this.
Sue. Or doesn't cover it.
Live
from your stepmom's basement.
Yes.
That breaking news, a fight for the future. Good evening, I'm Amma Dates.
And I'm J.R. Stone. It's official. The Oakland International Airport will be renamed despite major opposition, including a lawsuit from San Francisco.
Let's take a live look at the ABC 7 Oakland Airport camera. Just a short time
how exciting.
ago, the Port of Oakland, which is in charge
live with no planes.
Forward with the name change. And they released this new logo. It'll be called San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport.
ABC 7 News reporter Unser Hassan is live at the port's headquarters in Jack London Square. Unser?
JR and Amma, we don't have a new airport, but like you said, we do have a new name, and it takes effect.
Well, thanks for clearing it up, sir, that they didn't build a whole ass new airport. Thanks.
Immediately, because this was the second vote by the Port Commission, which happened today. So why the name change? The port says the main reason is the port says there's a lack of geographic awareness about Oakland and it's creating challenges. They argue Oakland should be serving the top 20 markets, but it's not. And that research shows a name change could attract more passengers by letting them know that Oakland is another gateway to the Bay Area.
And a name change can certainly do that. That brings the knowledge for people past the Mississippi to really understand where Oakland sits in the greater Bay Area, and also internationally, really of understanding from people from around the world of where Oakland is in.
Yes, no one has access to a map.
Meanwhile, the city of San Francisco has filed a lawsuit. It claims the name change infringes on the San Francisco International Airport trademark. In a statement to ABC 7 News, San Francisco City Attorney's Office writes, "It's disappointing that Oakland chose to ignore our multiple offers to collaborate on alternative names and avoid litigation. We have strong federal trademark infringement claims against Oakland and have given us no choice but to move forward with the next steps in our lawsuit." An attorney for the Port of Oakland addressed the lawsuit this way.
I authorized our port counsel to file an answer and counterclaim. It's seeking a declaration from the court that, number one, the name, the now board-approved name of San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport does not infringe on SFO's mark, that SFO nor the City of County of San Francisco or anyone else has rights to trademark or use exclusively the San Francisco Bay or the name the San Francisco Bay.
Now, there were people who spoke against the name change. Many say increased air traffic will lead to more air pollution. Also on hand was Oakland City Council member Noel Gallo. He says there's a long history of regional cooperation here in the Bay Area. For example, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge and how the San Francisco 49ers actually don't play in San Francisco. It seems the next steps may play out in court. Reporting live, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
All right, and we will keep on top of it. Thank you so much, Ansar.
The airport is like right there, like next to the bay.
It's on the bay, yeah.
And it's the San Francisco Bay.
Yep. I see where you're going, producer Dave, and I'm on board.
And
I'm flying away with you on this trip.
And the BART ride from the Oakland airport to, let's say, Powell, the Powell Street station, is probably more or less the same number of minutes as the BART ride from the San Francisco International Airport.
Are we including the BART shuttle?
Yeah, depending on if you get good timing on the shuttle and like good timing on the transfer and stuff, sure.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think you're probably right. So, yeah, I see where you're headed. I think this is a totally legit. If they want to do it, it's totally legit. I don't see any problem with a little more light. I don't see a problem with them changing the name. If they think it's going to attract more ridership, then they think it's going to attract more ridership. And it's not, no one owns the brand, San Francisco Bay, as far as I know. And it's interesting that they would cite, the Niners, because the 49ers actually, San Francisco 49ers is the trademarked name of the team. Right. So San Francisco is that's why they didn't, it's not the entirety of the reason, but it's one reason why they didn't change the name when they did move to physically play their games in Santa Clara, because they can't legally without, going through a whole bunch of paperwork, but they also kind of don't want to, right? They'd much rather be associated with their brand in San Francisco, because no one who knows where the fuck Santa Clara is. A few more people know where the fuck Oakland is. We all have access to maps. No one really uses maps, right? We don't study geography really all that much anymore anyway. So it's not surprising that people outside the Bay Area even don't know where the fuck Oakland is. Most people outside the Bay Area don't know where San Jose is, and it's a bigger city than Oakland and San Francisco. So there you go. But yeah, if they want to do this, great. If San Francisco wants to sue them, fucking awesome for us, because we get all sorts of clips we can run on Downballot and talk about how insane they are. And it sounds like Oakland is also, the Port of Oakland is preparing a countersuit as well. So this is just going to be nothing but popcorn and love for many months for us. And at the end of the day, it's not going to affect a damn thing, right? That was the funniest argument was, oh, it's going to, if they increase traffic at the airport, it's going to be more chemtrails, basically.
Madison Star Moon is like, I moved to Oakland to get away from all the fucking air traffic when I lived in San Bruno.
Right. We like having a nationally ignored international airport, right? We want to keep it that way. Less chemicals in our air.
Yes, and as people in chat are pointing out, I know that the San Francisco airport is owned by the Port of San Francisco, but it is not in the city of San Francisco anyway.
Well, it's true. And this is another real important, side note too, by the way, because we're going to see this on Downballot come up consistently as well. The effort in San Jose to close Reed Hillview Airport, this sort of regional, local, podunk airport that's mostly used for instructional and crop dusting and other kind of flights, in and out now. But it's in the middle of East San Jose, and community activists and city leaders and county leaders have bemoaned, the lead poisoning and all the other bad ill effects of having an airport and all those toxins right in the middle of a community. And, here you're trying to expand potentially ridership and activity at an airport in a low, a city that's predominantly low income people of color, right? So, where's the equity, man? Where's the equity? That's all I'm asking. So we're more to come. But San Francisco Bay, whatever you want to call it, airport, Vallejo International, that's fine.
They should just call them all San Francisco Airport number 1, San Francisco Airport number 2, and almost San Francisco Airport number 3 in San Jose.
You can choose which airport you want to fly. You can go to 1 or 5. It could be like a Dr. Seuss poem. Like, you can go to Airport 1, where they have some creamy buns.
But
okay, I'm a little high.
I just think like a couple things. One, most importantly, the San Francisco International Airport is not within the city or county limit of San Francisco in the first place. It's close by, but I think the Oakland Airport is pretty. I think they might be right directly across the fucking bay from each other.
It's in Oakland too. It's in Oakland proper too. You're right. The other airport is technically in South City or in San Bruno, but it is a San Francisco city and county property through the port of San Francisco. So. Anyway, we'll see how this all plays out.
You know what they should do? They should, how they're an airport, right? They could get fighter planes. They could get.
There could be. We could start a war. I mean, that's really the way to solve it. That's really the way to solve this is a war. I mean, we've learned that from the Gaza situation. Yeah, I mean, we've learned. What have we learned from our allies in Israel and Gaza? It's just do a war. Just do a war. That's the one way to cleanse everything, right?
Yeah, this is dumb. But the thing is, like, we're also going to be and get your shit together. We're going to be talking about how the state of California is telling San Francisco to fix their school budget, and the city of San Francisco is like, hold on, we got to sue somebody for putting the fucking name we don't like on their airport.
We got badder fish to fry, state of California, than educating our kids.
Like,
speaking of
hold my bread bowl.
hold my clam chowder. Speaking of educating our kids, or in this case, not, in the never-ending saga of charter schools as posing as public schools when they're really private schools. Recently, a school in I'm forgetting where, Newark, in the East Bay.
That's right across the freeway from me.
There you go. They announced that they're going to be closing, and it was a really awkward time for folks. So we're going to find out more about that from NBC Bay Area if the story loads.
High and dry.
Hey.
Teachers and parents say they feel abandoned by their East Bay school. The principal of New Horizons private school in Newark abruptly shut down the school amid financial troubles.
Families say they were given just days' notice. This is a story that we broke last night. Tonight, NBC's Damien Trujillo has more details.
The teachers showed up to work even though they haven't gotten paid in the last 3 months. Some tell me the news felt like a bucket of cold water. This is a bittersweet moment at New Horizons School in Newark. There's joy for today's middle school promotion exercises, but there's also pain and confusion because this is the final day the school will be open.
It's a shock.
They couldn't even afford stands for their speakers. Did you see that?
It's a shock the way it's unfolded.
The vice principal hastily arranged today's promotion ceremony, which was originally scheduled for the end of the month. That's because a staff got this email from the principal, Victor Dawson, on Wednesday night. It says the school has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and would close at the end of day today.
There are parents who paid advance tuition and registered for the next school term. And I don't know how, if they will get their money returned.
The vice principal says the principal is also a majority owner of the school. On the phone, Dawson told me he is devastated, but that the Financial Times and
I'm devastated, but I'm also out of the office today.
And
like, well, I mean, it's over. I'm just going to take the day off. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure no one will call.
Dawson is asking for 90 days to issue back pay for the teachers and to reimburse parents who already paid tuition.
Seriously?
Kind of devastated.
Teachers say they knew something was very bad when paychecks stopped arriving in February, yet they still showed up to work.
Why? I'm sorry. Sorry.
Fucking councilman screeching on my fucking show.
It's really hard work. Like, why would you keep I understand you need a job, but you're not getting paid. So why show up to do this incredibly difficult? I mean, for the kids, right? You absolutely love the kids that much that you're willing to show up for 3 months without getting paid. I mean, my God, forget low pay. Like, they're not getting paid. Okay. We can continue the story now. Sorry.
Because I'm attached after 30 years. What do? You don't leave the kids high and dry because you're not getting paid.
It really feels surreal.
Parents are also shocked and amazed at the teachers' resiliency.
To be here every day without pay, and I don't know if they will get paid. We can't. There are heroes right now for these remaining kids.
You got a few extra bucks, lady?
Shit, yeah. Like if you're not getting paid back for the tuition, they're not getting paid.
Certainty and
we're going to give them orange juice.
Having to pay bills, I'm using my credit card.
That lady was actually making she was making a giant fucking punch. That was for the teachers. That was for the teachers, not for the students.
It's making punch with laced with cyanide. So we can all kill ourselves.
Oh no!
Holy fuck!
Dad,
all right, children, line up.
Making it here.
For the children, today became a crash course in economics and in humanity.
Economics? This is a civics lesson.
Let's talk to the kids. Yeah, I want to see what they have to say.
This is a fucking civics lesson. Don't go to fucking what the fuck?
Don't elect school boards that vote for fucking charter schools. My God, like no wonder. Like this is exactly why people can talk what they want about it, but the teachers unions and CTA, California Teachers Association, organized so aggressively against charter schools because of this very reason. There absolutely are some that are run well enough, right? But for the most part, these are folks getting into these, starting schools, opening a school, and having no earthly idea what it takes to actually operate and manage a school, right? And they have these lofty ideas about how they want to reform education and help our kids learn better, right? But they don't remember that it's actually a fucking business. You actually have to pay people and do all sorts of, paperwork, God forbid, and financials and, reporting and all sorts of, and tax forms, all sorts of things you have to do just to run any small business, especially a school, right? They forget all of that. And when it all goes to hell, who gets hurt? Again, like we always talk about, right? The kids. So God bless these fucking teachers for sticking it out. They're absolutely doing it for the kids. I don't know, they've got to be like going out and door dashing or something to make ends meet when they're not getting paid. But I would have hoped that, if this was a public school, like their union would have stepped up and after one pay period and said, hey, what the fuck? Why aren't our people getting paid? Here in a charter, they don't have union representation, right? They don't have those kind of rights and people looking out for them. So maybe they don't even know that they could have said, hey, what the fuck?
If only there was a thing that we possibly call the fifth column or the fifth estate that would have been on this maybe since February. Something like what we're watching right now, possibly like the media, a newspaper of some sort that could have alerted people to the fact that these teachers weren't getting fucking paid.
Imagine it didn't have to wait for NBC Bay Area to do a story on it, months later, right? It's so sad. It's just so sad on so many levels. Like we talk about winners and losers. There are fucking no winners here at all. Like they're all losers, whether or not we want them to lose or not, right? It's just
I like how the principal's like, well, I guess I'm taking the day off today.
Yeah, and leaves the vice principal, who basically throws the principal under the bus, right, and says it's all his fault.
But they don't actually have a school bus to throw the the principal under because that's
they can't afford the bus. They had to pay the gas bill, right? To pay PG&E. Oh God, these poor kids.
I wonder if the Newark school board meeting is broadcast, because I feel like the next school board meeting from Newark, California might be a little spicy.
It's going to be lit. You know what's funny? That another thing about charter schools, really quick before we move on, is that they're supposed to have their own board structure. That's one of the requirements. They're supposed to have their own governance structure. They're supposed to have a business plan. And the district that allows them in their district has to approve that plan. And in a lot of cases, here in Santa Clara County, especially, local districts do not approve charters. They don't want more charters in their district because it hurts. They understand it hurts their schools in general and being competitive. But then the county will overturn their disapproval, right? Their denial, because they have that power to do so, and they don't really face a lot of repercussion because they're not the school district. So it's really something to really pay attention to, is that they're supposed to have one parameter is they're supposed to have their own governance. And a lot of the times those meetings aren't public, like school district meetings are public.
Why would they be?
Right. And you don't know who's on their board. You don't know who the people are making decisions.
They're probably not subject to things like the Brown Act.
No, yeah, exactly. They're not, and that's something that's a big question mark because they're getting public funding. Like they're funded by and chartered by public school districts. So they're supposed to be public schools, but they really aren't. They don't function that way at all, and that's the big bugaboo when it comes down to like, why do Councilman, why do you hate charter schools so much? I don't necessarily hate the idea of charter schools. I don't like how it actually functions, how the process actually works, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't create the change that it's purporting to make. It leaves kids hanging high and dry, and it really degrades our ability to truly reform our public school systems. So that's
like,
all.
There are probably ways to do successful, like good programs in the public system where you have like pilot programs and like public schools that are like magnet schools that are, narrowly offering the full curriculum, but then also have narrow focuses on, I don't know, engineering or, in certain places like maybe where there's a lot of industrial farming going on, like technology around farming, or like maybe in like Motor City, there would be one where one of the things they talked about was one of the things they were focused on was like automotive technology and how to get jobs in the auto industry. But the problem is that's not happening. Like, and if a charter school is telling you they're doing that, well, if anything goes wrong, I guess the principal's like, sorry, I'm playing hooky. Like,
yeah, then that was supposed to be the big thing about charters, was that they do these things that public schools have allegedly forgotten how to do, right? Like there used to be that kind of connectivity and magnet schools, things like that, right? Like I went to a performing arts magnet school because that's what I wanted to do, was the arts.
But it was, to be fair, it was a private school. It wasn't pretending.
No. This was before. This was actually when I was in the public school system. So in middle school, I went to a performing arts magnet, right? And there's a high school that was associated with that I could have gone to and would have gone to had I not been sidetracked by the private school mystique. But yeah, we used to do that all in the public school system all the time. And as that decayed because funding went away, charters had, they provided that option theoretically. Like you can have more specialized education, you can have more career readiness education, which we're not doing in our traditional public schools.
And I also feel like let's say that there was a 3-5 year plan or whatever in the school district, right? And this charter school existed and they assumed it was going to continue to exist. Well, now the city of Newark, the public school system is now left kind of holding the bag, and all these students that they expected to be at this charter school are now going to be back in the public school system. And I think people don't know enough, and I think they're going to blame the fucking Newark school board for it.
Oh, you were fucking, I had to get my bell because you were 100% on point with that. That's exactly what's going to happen. The kids are all going to have to come back to the traditional system, right? So the district's going to have to figure out what to do with them and how to manage that. And exactly that, they're going to have to manage all this bullshit expectation that's been thrust upon them, right? And sort of blame that's going to be thrust upon them, when really it was these charter operators who said and did all the things and showed them all the books and got the approval, right? And said they were going to do all these things and didn't do all the things.
That's why I said I think that, like, if it's broadcast, I think the Newark school board is going to be lit, right? Because
100%.
There's going to be parents of the kids who were at the school asking the school board what went wrong, and they'll be like, I don't know.
Well, I very much.
Then there's going to be parents like that are like, there's going to be some parents that are gloating, kind of, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I very much hope that our one listener and one viewer will be there. We'll step up and join the fray, either on, hopefully virtually or in person. Anyway,
and like, what happens to all like the state, like the government funding for the school? It's not like it's day to day. They're probably funded out in advance. Like they were probably already funded for the first semester of next year or something. So what happens to all that? I mean, I don't know, but it's not like they just get a check every day for their operating expenses.
It
right?
was well, you'd be surprised. It's budgeted, but it's more it's a reimbursement system, to be honest with you, right? Like the funding actually comes. This is one that I guess good silver lining, I guess. Although that's what pisses me off. Like they're talking about it, they're not going to reimburse parents their tuition. Are you fucking kidding me? Like you're in deep shit if you're going to get your asses. That's one way to get your asses sued, and the district will probably end up bearing the brunt of it. But yeah, no. That is the case that they get funded somewhat in arrears, right? But based on the funding formula, but it's budgeted, right? Like it's in the state budget. X number of dollars are going to X school district, right? And then the school district has their breakdown of, okay, it's budgeted that this money is going to these schools, but how it actually ends up is, based on what revenue actually comes in. And then, it is sort of based on enrollment and attendance too, right? Not just how many kids are enrolled in the school, but how many kids actually attend school and are going to school. And then the programs get reimbursed as you go. You don't get there's no big, one big check that goes out on July 1st, right? Or on the first day of school. Like, here you go, here's your money for the year. It really does come down month to month. And that is scary. It's really scary to think about. But that's how fucked up our education funding system is in California.
Well, we're going to move to Get Your Shit Together, and this is another story about a school. This is San Francisco. Apparently, the city of San Francisco, because they have all kind of money to hire a lawyer, I suppose, to go after some airport that has a name they don't like. But it turns out that the state of California is very upset with them, and they're trying
to put the smack down.
They got to fix the school budget, or else. Let's see what NBC Bay Area has to say about this.
New developments now for San Francisco Unified. We know there is now a plan of action as California's Department of Education takes control of the school district's spending. Today in the Bay's Ginger Conejero-Saab is live in San Francisco. And Ginger, this is really just the start of what's going to be months of moving forward.
That's true, Chris. Just the beginning here, but at least there is a plan moving forward for the district and how the Board of Education, the state's Board of Education, will hold their hand through that. Let's show you some video from last night's meeting when the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team from the Board of Education audited SFUSD. They presented their interim reports. They presented their findings from that to the school board. No big surprises there. Still bad news for the school district, including downgrading the district from qualified certification to negative certification for one of those interim reports. SFUSD has also been assigned fiscal advisors with veto powers when it comes to the district's spending. Now, the school district says it has eliminated a significant number of open positions. It is also now in the process of identifying which schools will be closed in order to save money. The district will need a hiring freeze as well. A corrective plan will be in place by the end of the month. The school district will have a series of meetings then, Chris, with SFUSD families as well as other community members to really get down to which schools might be closed by the time that the next school year comes around. That vote can happen as soon as December, and that is definitely a vote that a lot of families, whether you're in kindergarten or all the way up, to higher school or upper school, that's really something that they're going to be watching out for because it's such a huge change.
It is, guys, such an emotional thing for families when schools close and kids have to transition somewhere else. So we'll be watching. Thank you, Ginger.
Shout out to Ginger for going to work sick. You could tell Ginger was definitely fighting off a cold or something there.
Totally fighting it, but we love our local reporters. They definitely jump into the fray for us and give us the news no matter what's going on with our lives.
So I often wonder, like it would be fine, I think, actually, if just the state took over all the schools, and allowed like the boards to make like local decisions about the schools. But then, because if the state took over all the schools, maybe we wouldn't have this problem where the funding would be done by property taxes or largely done by property taxes, because then all the money would go into one pool and then all the fucking schools would get the money, and that would be much better for maybe not people in Los Gatos, but maybe for people in a place like San Francisco where there's less students, even though there's a lot of money there, a lot less students, and a lot of like developers there that probably find ways to skirt their property tax via lawyers and shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's funny. That's ostensibly how the funding works anyway in California. It's just that it goes through a lot of hoops and process to get there, right? The funding, right? The governance happens at the local level, and they determine how to use the money that they get. But the funding itself, there are mechanisms at the state that determine pretty much how much your district is going to get based on what comes in from, property tax primarily, but also other revenues that are dedicated and allocated to education. So, yeah, it's a mess. I really can't say it any simpler than that, I wish I had better news, but extricating ourselves from it would be so impossible. It's almost better to try to at a local level really influence how things happen and then try to use that as a springboard to a bigger change. It's just so. It's such a maelstrom. I can't begin to describe how many layers there are to this problem. But fundamentally, it's not working. We're not spending money in the right ways, and we're not. I don't think we're not listening to the people who we should be when it comes to actually crafting the programs that are educating our kids. And when I say the people we should be listening to, I mean two groups that we don't listen to enough: the teachers and the kids themselves. We tend to listen to the parents a lot, and as a parent now, I 100% understand and sympathize and appreciate the emotion that goes into being a parent, right? And having opinions about what's best for your kid. And administrators, we hear a lot from them, right? Because they have the time and the money and the resources and the power to speak out. And we hear from general community, like taxpayers associations, right? And people that don't have kids in the system and don't really have much of a stake other than they think they know best, right? Or the Reed Hastings of the world, right? Who just want to fund whatever it is, whatever their little pet project is. And we don't listen to the two stakeholder groups that are probably most important in this conversation. That's the teachers and the kids, because they're the ones in the classroom, right? So if we do more of that at a real fundamental level, I think you would see more change and change for the better, even with this convoluted system we have, because at the very least, you'd be creating programs that are beneficial. And however the funding gets to those programs, right, the programs themselves are solid. And you can count on that. So as long as the funding gets there, it doesn't matter how the funding gets there, right? So that's my 2 cents on education funding in California.
Right on. So we're going to move on to Down Ballot Watch. This is the thing where it's specifically local politics and stuff. Although the whole docket this week has been sort of Down Ballot Watchy in a way. So
yes,
that's good. We got San Francisco having some money trouble, but don't worry, business interests are going to overhaul the tax system and fix everything. Actually,
that's going to be great.
Fantastic. The video will start eventually. Again, anybody listening on the podcast, this is a live show.
Awesome. Wow.
Tax relief could soon be coming to thousands of businesses around San Francisco.
Yay.
Business leaders submitted a proposed measure that would overhaul the city's tax system. Lori Thomas, the executive director of the Golden Gate Restaurant Association, was one of those people.
Oh.
We know that any relief we can give, even if it's a couple $1,000s a year to our small businesses, is a nod in the right direction.
If passed by voters in November, the proposal would simplify the city's notoriously complex tax system. It would also allow small businesses with revenue under $5 million to be exempt from business taxes, up from the current level of $2 million. It's a move that proponents say would allow for more business expansion and hiring.
Almost 90% of our restaurants, 60% of our retail businesses would be completely exempt from our gross receipts tax.
At the Palette Tea House in Ghirardelli Square, owner Dennis Long says he supports the proposal.
Anything that can help small business would definitely be welcomed.
Dennis says after rising in 2021 and 2022, the Palette's business actually started to decline again last year. A contrast to the other restaurant he owns in San Mateo, where Dennis says doing business is simpler.
There's a lot of extra fees and here and there in San Francisco that makes running a business more difficult or more challenging than in other cities.
In order to offset the cost of the proposed tax rates, Thomas says rates would rise again in 2027. But she hopes a 3-year window would allow more small businesses to recover back to their pre-pandemic levels before absorbing the additional costs.
If you didn't make some of these changes, you were going to lose that money anyway. Employers might pull out, they might not bring people back to work.
Now, in order to get this proposal on the November ballot, supporters will need to get about 10,000 signatures on their petition. In the studio, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
10,000, that's nothing.
No, it'll be especially for these folks, it'll be fairly simple to get this thing balloted, and we'll see what comes out of it. It's funny with these exemptions at certain levels of income, right? You always wonder, what do the people feel like who are like just over the threshold, right? And they're looking at the person just under the threshold. They're like, well, fuck, no one talked to me about this shit. We're right there. So, yet to be seen if it makes a lot of sense. San Jose has implemented business taxes like this and other places to drive more revenue. But it's, again, it always comes back to how you're spending the money. And if you're spending it on programs that actually reciprocate, right, that drive more money and revenue and tax revenue to the city, right? If you're creating programs and incentives that create, in turn, tax revenue that then can be used to create more programs, right? That's when you've got government working the way it should be working, right? Where you're investing and the investment's coming back to you and you're reinvesting it. Governments should function more like banks in that respect, to be honest with you. Not that they should be banks, but that's really what when we talk about public dollars, that's how we should think about it, right? Is investing, not necessarily just throwing it down the rabbit hole to plant more trees.
I'll tell you what, I feel real bad for that guy who has a restaurant in Ghirardelli Square and one in San Mateo, especially when I saw that bespoke light setup that he had that might have been like $80,000 to $100,000 over his bar.
Yeah, maybe downgrade the lighting setup and you'll save more money for paying the other bills.
So up next we got San Jose news. We got Mayor Ed 209 planting a tree in a dress shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great look if you can get it. And it looks like Councilmember Torres followed along too. They have the exact same shirt. Just watch for that in this story.
The Bay Area's biggest city continues to look for solutions to improve its neighborhoods. The latest one came today in the form of nearly 30 trees. Here's NBC's Ian Cole.
They're not just planting trees, but moving an entire neighborhood forward. The city of San Jose is answering a call from businesses in the Calle Willow neighborhood just south of downtown. They say when summer rolls around, the heat along sidewalks makes it unbearable to be outside.
This will undoubtedly bring more visitors to our area and encourage people to take a stroll along Calle Willow.
San Jose Mayor
there he is,
and Council Member Omar Torres were on hand to help
wearing
some
shirt.
of the 29 trees the city is putting in to increase shade and beautify the area.
We may see temperatures reach as high as 90 degrees by the end of the week, which makes cutting the concrete, as we call it, all the more important across our city.
The Forestry Division is planting over 2,000 trees across San Jose this year. We are dedicated to increasing tree canopy in areas of San Jose that have not historically had sufficient canopy cover.
Alonzo Lopez owns the Artegas Food Center and heads up the neighborhood association.
Nobody wants to go to a place that's ugly or maybe scary, right? So the trees are the starting point of making the area welcoming.
They hope to have new street lights installed as well. The project already getting a green thumbs up from people walking around.
Pretty hot here most of the time, so it'll help revitalize, have some freshness here.
The city has contractors who will water and maintain the trees for 3 years as they grow along with the community. In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
We're going to plant these trees the week before it gets super fucking hot.
Yeah. And then just had to spend a bunch of money on the water to get them, take root. Anyway, but yeah, good look if you can get. It was great that they both got the memo about the dress code for tree planting in 80-degree heat.
You'd think that they would plant the trees like during the rainy season.
Yeah, and that they would wear like the T-shirt that says "I love trees" or some shit, right? And like come prepared for the fucking event. Like I don't understand this. The mayor has a staffer who wears like a scarf. He wears it to everything. Like in 90-degree heat, he's wearing a scarf, like a wool scarf. And it's like, I want to ask the guy, like, is this some sort of religious thing? Like, I don't know about it. I don't understand. But anyway.
He's from Connecticut.
Yeah. I mean, the mayor, I guess this is a slightly better thing than the mayor putting like a T-shirt from Our City Forest, like the nonprofit, over his dress shirt, which is his typical look when he goes to an event. It's like, oh, I'll take the 5K T-shirt and I will throw it over my dress shirt to look like I am a person of the people and I'm not afraid to look like a dork.
That's great. He could just change his shirt. Like he could be like "Sun's out, guns out" and change his shirt. But no, Matt Mahan.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to see his guns, to be honest with you. Anyway, good luck to you, Mayor Ed 209. We will see you at the next tree planting as you distract people from how you're trying to divert housing funds. Well, we'll have that on next week's 2 weeks from now on Down Ballot.
That's right. Because next week is the crazy.
Crazy. Nuts.
So what do we got for And Another Thing? It's an animal story. Back to our roots of And Another Thing.
I'm just gonna say arf. But go to Pier 39. You'll know what I mean, and we'll see it in the story.
Well, guys, there's an invasion happening right
invasion?
now.
Cicadas?
in San Francisco.
Oh, no, no.
We aren't talking about an invasion like this.
Of the body snatchers? Oh.
That'd be great if that happened in the fucking like Potrero Hill or some rich neighborhood.
The birds.
You know, isn't that just disturbing?
Bodega
That
Bay.
was from the 1963 movie The Birds. Last year, Brian Hackney actually edited himself into the movie, running from the bloodthirsty crows. Okay, but let's get back on track, shall we? So there's actually a sea lion invasion on Pier 39 at Fisherman's Wharf. Herds of them. Herds of sea lions.
You've heard of sea lions. Well, a herd of them are at the pier.
Are they trying to hurt people like the birds?
This number, like you see, and you can really hear them. So take a listen.
Smell them too.
Over 1,000 sea lions were just lounging at the pier on Monday, and that's something the city really hasn't seen in 15 years. It turns out they are after the food the bay is filled with. What do you think it is?
Fish.
Anchovies and herring right now. The sea lions are pretty packed in for the big feast. A lot of people you can see there.
But they're there for the Whole Foods.
They're so amazing. They're very beautiful, massive. This is so huge. Very, very cool to watch.
Pretty cool. I've never seen this many sea lions in one place before. It looks like
Well, wherever you have artisanal cupcakes.
a good spot on the couch.
On the couch. The last time the sea lion count was this high was in 2009 when the docks had a record high 1,700 sea lions.
1,700.
Oh, look at them just lounging in the sun.
How does word get around?
They talk, obviously.
Yeah, the BART has some sort of communication then, huh?
I bet that's
Yes. Oh my
You said you walked down there.
I walked by there today on my break, but I didn't get close enough to catch a whiff.
I don't know.
The funk of sea lion.
He knows.
They live for this moment where they get to vamp, right? They live for this.
Completely. Yeah, this is like the end of their set. You know, they're ready to go home or to the bar and have a drink, right? Yeah, they love this shit.
You get to find out how deeply uninteresting and uncharismatic your local news people are.
Right. Do you think that their bark is actually a communication tool? No shit, Sherlock. welcome to mammals.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is next. News continues to be on CBS News Bay Area.
Oh, you were the opening act for
plug.
Stephen.
Little plug, yeah, right. That's the lead-in. Oh, Devin Feely.
Man, imagine opening for Colbert and bombing like that.
Oh man, but yeah, good on the sea lions though. It's great. They look like they're living their best life. Honestly, out there just waiting for food. But yeah, I think they showed up for the Whole Foods, not necessarily because there was more plankton or anchovies or herring in the bay this year.
Nobody complains about them pooping.
No, God no. But you can smell it. You can smell it before you see it. That's what I know about the sea lions.
You can smell it and hear it before you see it.
Hear it. Yeah, right. So 2 of the 5 senses. Anyway, well, I'm really glad to get back to our animal interest stories here on Down Ballot because it's really our bread and butter when it comes down to it.
Fuck yeah! You want to read the show out?
Totally. Well, thank you all for joining us once again for another wonderful episode of Down Ballot. We do this show every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, except when we don't. Stay tuned for Public Comment, which is a fantastic red light production that comes right out of Down Ballot's backyard and into your living room. And remember to get yourself vaxxed, wear a mask, pants are optional. We're going to leave you with some audible smoke as usual. We hope you'll have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week for live Shasta County Madness. Peace out.
It's Friday night, I think it's time
to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the US economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy